Hey, it's Flip and MJ here. Welcome to the August 4th edition of Up to Date MMA. You like that one? All right, news flash here. Matt Hamill coming out of retirement. Flip looks like he's going to be matched up against Roger Hollett. Now, Roger Hollett, not a big name, but I think more importantly, you know, Matt Hamill coming back to the octagon. Pretty good choice, don't you think? I thought he retired kind of early, honestly.
Yeah, he came off a couple of tough losses and to some really talented guys as well. You know, Rampage had been around for a long time. Alexander Gustafsson's, you know, coming up in the ranks. Yeah, real tough kid. Roger Hollett, more known in Canada. You know, this is his UFC debut. Yeah, it's a pretty stiff test against Matt Hamill, but Matt Hamill's been out for a little while, and usually sometimes, you know, these make for some pretty interesting fights, especially when it's a veteran fighting a newcomer, because they do get the octagon jitters and such. Yeah. So it should be pretty interesting. It's on the UFC 152 card, I believe, in Toronto. So you know, it should be pretty awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing Matt Hamill back in there and maybe see him stick around for a couple more years. Yeah,
it'd be interesting how that goes down. Tim Sylvia versus Andrei Arlovski 4. Didn't see that one coming, but then again, you know, if you're a heavyweight that the UFC just won't let back in the door, I guess you got to take what you can take, or you got to go to Bellator. So
yeah, and these are two pretty big names, especially for the card that they're fighting on. So you know, it's kind of a rough fight probably to watch again. You know, you have that first fight was really awesome. You know, I was at that fight live years ago, and he caught Tim Sylvia on that heel hook, and that was his first fight back. You know, after that Frank Mir had basically broken his arm. So. You know, sometimes you heard him say that he tapped it a little early because he was, you know, kind of still afraid of the break, and then he comes back and he basically takes Arlovski out twice. You know, so to make it a fourth time, especially at this point in their career, Arlovski hasn't looked good in a pretty long time. It's been a while. Sylvia's, you know, kind of been on a little bit of a tear, so it is possible that Sylvia will probably just go in there and take him out again. But you know, Sylvia should be back in the UFC just for his name recognition alone.
Yeah. All right, so we'll see how that pans out with Arlovski and Sylvia. Okay, Bellator 75, they're going to start a new heavyweight tournament. You got Eric Prindle versus Santos. That was supposed to be the heavyweight finale, you know, leading up to that, the last heavyweight tournament. So that's going to be interesting. That's going to be an opener in this one. And then you got Brett Rogers making his debut against Magomedov, or however you say that name. So it'll be interesting. Bellator 76, you got Eddie Alvarez going to have his final fight in Bellator against Patricky Pitbull. So I'm really curious to see what Eddie Alvarez is going to do, because they've been trying to make that fight with Gilbert Melendez for a long time. So I'm kind of thinking somehow they're going to woo him into just signing with Strikeforce somehow, just to make Strikeforce a little bit more relevant in the lightweight division. And I bet you they put that fight together if he's successful against Pitbull.
Yeah, it's very possible that they do that. You know, even to see him get signed with the UFC and be some sort of a crossover to his first fight in Strikeforce, kind of like what they're doing with Frank Mir and Daniel Cormier right now. Yeah. You know, that'd be pretty interesting. I mean, I really think that Gilbert Melendez is at the top of the heap, whether it's in the UFC or just there at Strikeforce alone. I think he deserves to have better challengers. Yeah. And you know, that would be a pretty interesting fight to make right off the bat for Eddie Alvarez, assuming he comes out here and he's really puts on a good show. Yeah,
and it'd be an important one to put together for Gilbert as well, because I mean, Gilbert, I mean, he's fighting Pat Healy next. You know, I mean, Pat Healy's a good fighter. He's solid. He's well-rounded. But he's not a top 10, you know. And so, you know, having a guy as good and as talented as Gilbert Melendez, you want to see him fight the best, because he's only got so many more years in his career. All right, Demian Maia, I guess, now fighting Rick Story at UFC 153. Yeah. That's an interesting matchup. I mean, the Horror Story versus Demian Maia. I'm curious to see how this one goes down.
Yeah, it should be an interesting one. You know, Demian Maia's, you know, he's got top-notch submission game. We've all seen that. Rick Story's wrestling is solid. He's really, you know, a tough guy. So, you know, the way that I honestly see this fight, I'm thinking it's going to look the same way that the Mark Munoz-Demian Maia fight kind of went. Except I think Demian Maia might be able to pull out that split decision in a fight against Rick Story.
Yeah, could happen. It's an interesting matchup, though. I'm looking forward to that. Then you got Donald Cerrone. I'm kind of thinking, man, is he overlooking Melvin Guillard, you know, heading into tomorrow's event, because he's calling out Anthony Pettis. He was making some comments about, hey, Pettis, stop complaining about your sore shoulder. Right. Let's do this. I guess supposedly he wants to fight Pettis right after, assuming he has a win over Guillard, which I think that's a tough fight for him. But, you know, calling somebody out right before you're supposed to fight another guy,
Yeah, it's kind of disrespectful to the opponent that you have right in front of you. Yeah. It could be one of those sort of things where Donald Cerrone knows pretty much who he's fighting. He's trained with the guy, you know, in Albuquerque before.
Yeah.
Before Gillard took off to go with to Black Zillion. So
right.
it could be something that maybe Cerrone's, you know, we don't know whatever happened in the room, you know, or in the gym, and he could be thinking that he has something up on Melvin.
Yeah.
And if he does, I think that it's going to be on the ground in the submission game.
Yeah.
But he has, you know, top-notch striking, and he can hang his own with a lot of these guys, Anthony Pettis included. So
yeah.
the thing with Anthony Pettis is he wants just, you know, somebody that's a bigger name, and along with Don Cerrone having a win, you know, over Melvin Gillard, that boosts them both up to where they could be looking at title contention. So
yeah, definitely. It's interesting because, you know, you see, you know, Melvin Gillard in his last fight pretty tentative. Right before that, he had, you know, submission losses. So, you know, Cerrone coming out of Jackson's camp, obviously, it's like we were talking about earlier, and like what you just said. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if Cerrone takes it to the ground. Although, you know, out of all the Jackson's fighters, Cerrone's one of the guys that hasn't exactly been that boring guy using just tactical striking or tactical submissions or, you know, ground game to control his opponent just to grind out a win. You know, he's going in there to finish guys. So it makes me wonder if he'll want to stand and bang with Gillard and try and knock him out just to prove a point. You know.
Yeah, and that could be something that might happen. It really just depends on how deep into the firefight they get and who really cracks each other harder. I think Gillard's the stronger of the two personally, as far as, you know, when he hits you, you know what's happening. But Cerrone's a little more technical, and usually a technical fighter can you know, stay outside of those dangerous shots and be able to kind of pick a person apart and then take them down and do what they want with them. So
yeah. All right, so we're coming up on UFC on Fox 4. You know, you got the main event that probably never should have happened in my book. This should have been like Shogun versus, you know, Glover Teixeira, but he's matched up against Brandon Vera. Earlier in the week, Dana White said, okay, this is a title eliminator. Got a little bit of a backlash because everybody's like, are you serious? Like, Brandon Vera fighting for the title? He got demolished by John Jones when they fought before. He hasn't exactly lived up to his potential or what people there.
Well, all four of these guys were pretty much manhandled by John Jones. No. So it's kind of funny because when you watch it, you kind of wonder, because what they're saying is that the person with the most exciting win is the one that's going to get that title shot.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're kind of looking at it. It's probably going to boil down to either Shogun or Machida.
Yeah.
If you're looking for something that's more exciting, Bader I think wins that fight because he grinds it out.
Yeah.
You know, aside from maybe just bull rushing Machida and taking him clean out. But I mean, really, none of those fights are really too exciting. You know, after, you know, unless Dan Henderson beats John Jones and mixes up the division.
Yeah.
That's the only way that any of these fights kind of make sense. Because I'd love to see Henderson fight Shogun again. Yeah. And I'd definitely be interested in seeing you know, Henderson fight either a Bader or a Machida. So
yeah, that'd be a really interesting matchup. So it's good. At least Dana White came to his senses. You know, initially just saying that it's just going to be the winner of Vera Shogun, but now you got Bader and Machida in the mix. Should make for a better card too, because you got four guys. It's almost like a mini tournament. You know, you got four guys. Whoever's going to have the most impressive win gets the title shot. So we'll see who's hungry. You know, if Bader comes out and just grinds out a boring decision, you know, then he's probably not going to get the shot. Same thing goes for, you know, Shogun. Although I see Shogun coming in there and just blasting Vera, probably take him out in the first round. So it's going to be pretty much on Machida to go out there and if he can.
Yeah, and everybody, you know, they're saying that Brandon Vera is just like on fire, man. He is really on point for this fight. You know, leading in. You know, he says that it's probably been one of the lowest points in his career since he came back. You know, after everything, and kind of had some pretty tough losses. Yeah. You know, that were kind of questionable, but you know, it's what happens in the fight game. You know, the judges are the ones that ultimately make those decisions if you don't finish the fight. So yeah. You know, so then of course that lackluster fight against Elliot Marshall. Yeah. You know, you just kind of wonder like, why is he where he is? And you know, it's really pissed him off enough that they say that he's, you know, he's pretty game and he's willing to come in. And a lot of people think that it's a dangerous fight for Shogun because his back's against the wall. Yeah. You know, so Vera could possibly take it, but from a technical perspective, I don't see it. Yeah. It'll be interesting if Vera catches him with like a head kick or something, or if Shogun took him too lightly. It'd be cool. I mean, I love watching Brandon Vera fight because you always, you know, especially his last 4 or 5 outings, I'm just sitting there thinking, okay, let's see the Brandon Vera of old. Let's see the guy that just comes in and tears guys' heads off, and it just hasn't been that. So, you know, good luck to both of them. Then you got Joe Lauzon versus Jamie Varner. You know, there's a little article on SureDog talking about Jamie Varner being the modern-day Rocky. I almost wonder if they threw Varner over to Lauzon
just to like shut him down, because you know he took a lot of hype away from Edson Barboza. He demolished Edson Barboza like nobody else. He handled him. It
was kind of funny when that fight actually came out. I remember they were doing the introductions, and I'm sitting there with my dad, and I told him, "Oh, that Barboza guy's gonna win." And then I said, "I'm gonna take a little bit of a nap." And like my dad was like, "You gotta get up," and I like wake up, and Varner's finishing him, and I was like, "Whoa!" And you know, it was only just a little bit of time into the fight and stuff, so you know, it totally caught me completely off guard. I didn't think anybody was really going to be able to hold their own with Barboza for a little while, at least till he got a little higher up into the division. But Jamie Varner, you know, he was a top 10 fighter for a while when he was in the WEC. You know, he just had a couple of slips during the stuff with when he was fighting Cerrone and Benson Henderson. And they just basically cut him when the UFC bought out the WEC. So you know, now he's back. We'll see kind of what he does. I think it's an interesting matchup against Lauzon. You know, Jamie Varner's obviously tough. The only thing is that he has, you know, some submission holes, and that's where, you know, Joe Lauzon capitalizes. That's
his strength right there. So yeah, I was kind of looking at that. I thought, I wonder if they're just doing this, but you know, like you said, those losses to Cerrone and what did you say?
Benson Henderson.
And Benson Henderson. I mean, now those, you know, Benson Henderson is a champ. Cerrone's a top contender. They don't look too bad now on Varner's record. You know, losses to top guys like that. And then rounding out the card, you got DeMarcus Johnson versus Mike Swick. I'm calling for the Swickatine on this one. I think he's going to catch him, and I'm thinking that Swick's going to come in and finish him. I'm hoping so, at least, just for Swick's case. But
yeah, it really just depends on you know, Mike Swick's preparation for this fight. You know, DeMarcus, he always comes in, he's pretty game. You know, win or lose, I think that, you know, he tries a lot harder than, you know, some other fighters that are out there. And, you know, he's kind of up and down with his record. So it's a pretty good fight to bring Swick back into the fold for. And it really, like I said, it depends on how he recovered from, you know, his sickness and injuries and stuff. And, you know, I think that Swick's going to be able to pull it out. He's a pretty tough guy. So
yeah, I was looking at his record the other day. I mean, he's 14-4. He's only lost to a couple, you know, of the top guys as well. So we'll see. It's been almost 2 years. So if he's really healthy now and well trained, should be a good outing for him. So, you know, that about wraps it up for today. As always, for additional coverage and exclusive content, make sure and check us out at fightlifemedia.com.